I told him when I come back, we're going swimming. So, tell everybody thank you for them. Скажи, дякую.
Дякую.
Не, английский.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, что? Very much. Еще раз.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Future president of Ukraine right here. All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It is October the 2nd, 2025. It's 6:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And honestly, I wanted to put this out in a shorter video format, but it was not possible. And what I'm referring to is actually Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin today going crazy. Now, I know that you probably have seen some clips. You may have seen a few things on Twitter. Some of you that understand Russian or found an English audio source may have spent 4 hours watching his speech and then watching the follow-up questions. And I can't even believe what I've heard this man say today. And when I was analyzing it and started working on some voiceovers or some translations or using some other English and putting the text on it, the subtitles, it just became overwhelming. And I said to myself, there is no way that I can put this in a 10-minute video. I can't put this in a 20-minute video. This is alive. And I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you for all of our moderators, all the work that they'll be doing during this live stream. Additionally, thank you for all our channel members, those that are active on in our Discord. We just appreciate each and every one of you. But tonight feels like it's going to be, for me, kind of like a game show, because what I have done over the last 4 hours is indexed, tried to put in some type of logical order and give you the best overview of 4 hours into sound bites that are telling the whole story, not just a 30-second clip. It may be a 2-minute clip, a 3-minute clip, but we're going to have complete understanding, you will, of what Vladimir Putin spoke today. And it was quite intense, to be quite honest with you. Now, you may be here and wondering, where was he speaking at? He was speaking at what's called, I'll show you the website here. It's called the Valdai Discussion Club. Let me show you this here. So if you can see this little shadowed out picture here, this is all it is. You have representation from all over the world and speakers, and they come and discuss international events and a multitude of topics. This is run by Russia. This is run by Russian state media, and one of the main backers and the guy that you'll see interviewing Vladimir Putin today is actually a television personality on Rossiya 24, but he's also a professor, a PhD guy. I mean, he's sharp guy. But this is what you have, and you had multiple nations represented there. I gave the numbers earlier today when I gave the preview of Dmitry Peskov talking about Vladimir Putin's speech. And if you didn't see that, you can go back and check that out. It's pretty interesting as well. But now we have all the goods. The executive team here, it's all Russian. I'm trying to hear. This is the guy here, Fyodor Lukyanov. This is the guy who's doing the interviews today. And you can see here, he is the host on Channel 24. So in addition to other things he does. So this happened in Sochi, Russia. And I'm just shocked how long Vladimir Putin spoke. And the questions, the comments he made, you're going to see it all. So without further ado, we'll jump into that. And let me say thank you once again before we do jump in. Now, I literally have a lot of tabs. Well, not tabs, but in my software for streaming, I don't run on tabs. I use vMix. I've got all these videos indexed, so I'm trying to keep up with the chat as well. I will say, Matt Leach Music, thank you for the $2 super chat for the NAFO 69th. We can push that to them. Duncan U23, one of our mods as well. Welcome back, my friend. Slava Ukraina, $20 super chat and gifting 10 memberships. Thank you for that. Papa Dutch, the legend in the house. Welcome in, my friends, to the show that never ends. And Linda S. from Australia, sending 10 Greg Terry Experience gifted memberships. Thank you for that as well. Linda put this at a time where our Australian friends would be waking up, and we're trying to catch as much of the world at the same time as possible. So here we go, guys. Just get ready. You're going to see madness, absolute madness. And before we get there, Papa Dutch sending in a $10 super chat. A strange and oddball note. All the major players seem to have a letter U in their names. Rutte, Trump, Tusk, Putin. Ladies and gentlemen, old man Tup, the PG show, just like old man lamb chops. Okay, Papa Dutch, I will give you this.
Slava Ukraini.
That's for Papa Dutch. But I will tell you, this week I learned, first of all, how to say Rutte. One of our great Dutch viewers was messaging me saying, okay, I want you to learn how to say Rutte. And I did. And Trump, Tusk, and Putin. But I will tell you also, Papa, there is a U in Dutch. So we can add the strange and oddball players. Major players are Rutte, Trump, Tusk, Putin, and Dutch, as in Papa Dutch. Hello to Africa there. I see you in the chat. There's Paul Gudeberetz, Pether Olson. Let me get this one before we get going here. With love to Ukraine, the Swedish non-smoking initiative. Thank you so much for all that you do there. All right, now let's do this. Thank you, everybody. I'm seeing all the nations now saying hello, Canada, et cetera, Africa, Norway. Here we go. Let's get to it because we may be here for an hour or so covering this. All right, let's do it like the game show. All right, so Paper Tiger. Yes, Vladimir Putin today responds about the Paper Tiger comment, but then he calls NATO a paper tiger, and you will see it in just a few moments. And the title here, you have to see it to believe it. It's live. Now, let's get to the game show, as I'm going to call it. Tonight, the topics are going to be Putin on Alaska. And before I give you the rest of the list, and I know you're reading ahead there, but I really wanted to do a live because I want you guys to be able to discuss this stuff in the chat. We enjoy all of that. Look at here. We've got some ATP in the house. BME, a little something from the other side of the ATP pond. Shout out there for Jast. You don't have to read all that. Don't worry about it, bro. I got it. So shout out to you there, BME, and all of the ATP people in here. And that's my buddy Johnny. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can chat about it, talk about it. I'll try to catch as much of it, but I'm going to be pushing these videos to you. So, topics for tonight, Putin on Alaska. Number 2, USA has business with us, by the way. On history, it's all about brute force. And there's that U again. May I read a poem to you? Oh, yeah, it's coming. The power hungry fail. The USA has peaked. Department of War? Of course, that is a reference there to the United States. Did you know we wanted to join NATO? That's 7. 8. I'm going to tell you about the root causes in Ukraine. 9. Paper tigers and Vladimir Putin's frontline analysis coming at you. 10. Putin waxing about the Ukrainian army. 11. Let's talk about nuclear power plants. 12. Drones, UFOs, and Washington. And 13, we'll end with tomahawks. So here we go, guys. Let's start with the first one. And listen, I love for my video work and lives and produced videos to be as professional as possible. However, I have all of these things done just in a matter of hours, and hopefully we'll be as professional as possible on these videos, pushing them into the screen here. So here we go. Let's start with Putin on Alaska. That's where we need to start. We started with a trip and a visit to the United States, Alaska. We didn't really discuss any issues with President Trump there, not even bilateral. The agenda items, we only talked about possibilities and ways to resolve the Ukrainian crisis. Overall, I think that's very good. President Trump, well, we've known him for a long time. He likes to be a bit dramatic. We all see that the whole world sees it. But he's actually someone who can listen, surprisingly. He can listen, hear, and respond. So he's actually quite a comfortable person to talk to, I'd say. The fact that we made an attempt to find possible solutions to the Ukrainian crisis is, in my opinion, not bad. That's the first thing. Second, after all, the conversation, albeit superficial, was about restoring Russian-American relations, which are not at a standstill, but at their lowest place in all of memorable times. I think the very fact of our meeting, the visit itself, and I'm grateful to the president for how he organized all the signs aimed at considering the restoration of bilateral relations. And in my view, this is good for everyone, for the U.S. bilaterally and for the entire international community. All right, so there you have Putin talking, and this is where we need to start. He was asked after his speech, what was Alaska like? He says, very, superficial meetings, but it was good. It was a good show for the world that we come together and we could talk. Thankful to Trump, he's a good listener, and he doesn't just listen, but he hears. And, even in the bilateral talks, we know that our relationships are weak, but hopefully they'll get better. And that's about it. So it's completely a different story, of course, from the Russian side as to what they're talking about in Alaska versus all of the things that the United States and even European nations were seeing that unfolded in Alaska. I tend to lean, unfortunately, this way because we've seen after Alaska nothing but an escalation. Nothing but an escalation in this war, and it is going like crazy right now. Now, let's get to number 2, guys. Number 2 is the United States has business with us. We know that President Donald Trump has been talking about Europe. You have to stop buying oil. You have to stop buying LNG. You've got to stop all business with Russia. I can't sanction them if you're not going to be with me. We heard today Orban doubling down saying, listen, we're landlocked. We're going to be getting oil from Russia, although today they signed a little agreement with France to get a little bit of natural gas in. I think that is to relieve some pressure coming against the Orban administration there in Hungary. It's not a big deal. It is very minuscule, and those contracts do not even start. One, I believe, is 2028 or 2029. So it's what it is. But Vladimir Putin today, and hello to the whiskey shop there, my friend I met in Kyiv. I see the chat running over here. Today, Vladimir Putin made it a point to state how much money the United States is spending with Russia. Here it is. This is Putin on his business, or Putin on the U.S.
We started
business.
with a trip
Let's do this one.
last year. I don't recall the exact figures, but I remember how much we earned. It was around $800 million, $760 million. For the first half of this year, we've sold uranium to the United States for over $800 million. And I think by the end of 2025, it'll be over $1 billion, somewhere around $1.2 billion.
Can somebody please ask the Trump administration if we're going to require other nations to stop doing business with Russia? Wouldn't it be logical that we lead by example? And now this is about enriched uranium, guys. And these are some of the cards, to use that phrase that's been used for months and months, that Russia actually holds. And it's that enriched uranium. So, but the bottom line is this: the United States does not need to purchase enriched uranium from Russia, period. So it's very hypocritical to put immense pressure on other nations and scream at them about buying power, which is from in the oil or gas, while at the same time you're doing what you're screaming at them not to do. And as Vintage Mom says here, a double standard is telling, and that is exactly right. All right, so that's that one. Let's go to number 3, guys. On history, Vladimir Putin will be talking, and he uses a Russian or Soviet colloquialism here, because it's actually about he who has a plow is only met by another person that has a plow, or he who has an axe is only met by another person that has an axe, or he who has a hammer is met by another person that has a hammer. Well, it's force requires force. And this is a big thing that's been trending on social media, was this phrase that Vladimir Putin used. Here is the video clip for you guys. Let me go to this right here. And I think I can do that.
This led to nothing good. Not a single global problem was solved. Instead, new ones keep piling up. Global governance institutions created in the past era, they either don't work or have largely lost their effectiveness. It's one way or the other. No matter how much potential country or group of countries accumulates, every power has its limits. Well, the Russian part of the audience knows we have a saying: against brute force, there's no defense except another brute force. And it always appears. You see, this is the essence of what's happening in the world. Always. It always appears. Moreover, trying to control everything, and everyone creates tension, which undermines internal stability, raising legitimate questions.
Now, let me break that down for you guys, because some of the other clips that are coming will explain that even more. He says brute force will always be met by brute force, and this is why we have global insecurity, global destabilization, and he points to that The reason so many people are pointing to that phrase he used, brute force meets brute force, is because he goes on the rest of the day to talk about every type of warfare, every historical move that Russia has made, everything that they've done to bring peace to the world has been rejected, and therefore they must be doing what they do now. And he says, you will hear it in a little while, we do not have a Department of War, we have a Department of Defense. We don't attack anybody. You will hear it yourself. So you can see this is the reasoning behind a lot of the social media posts that you'll see out there about this brute force, or it may say sledgehammer to sledgehammer or hammer to hammer. You will see it. Papa Dutch, $2. Fudge taco sounds worse than pineapple on pizza. And Papa Dutch talking about food and the fudge taco specifically. By the way, pineapple on pizza is pretty popular in Ukraine, Papa Dutch, FYI. They like pineapple and chicken. We like. All right. Josh Dean, love your content, but it seems like you're Ukraine first, America second, with the nonstop attacks on the U.S. government. Haven't heard one criticism of Ukraine. Then you haven't been around me very much. We've talked a lot about the deficiencies in Ukraine, whether it's mobilization, whether it is borders that have been opened or closed, allowing under 22-year-olds to leave the country. Just stick around and stick with me, Josh. I call it like it is with Ukraine as well. They've made many, many failures, but the reality is they're the nation that is involved in this war firsthand, being smashed every day, being smashed right now. Look at it right now, being smashed right now. And it's, yes, nobody loves America more than me, but I will tell you right now, America needs to be leading the way in standing against all of this that happens every day. And this is happening right now. So thank you for your comment. I hope that helps you understand a little bit better there. I do appreciate it. And that probably helps others as well. Now, let's go back to here. Let's talk about this one. Number 4, coming in at number 4. May I read a poem to you? Yes. Vladimir Putin today read a poem from Pushkin. Pushkin is the famous poet from Russian history who wrote poems about the Napoleonic Wars. Now, Putin was just talking about peace and brute force meeting brute force. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seatbelts and listen and watch this.
But if you allow me, I have a book with me. It's quite curious.
He's opening the book.
This is a response to many questions. The Borodino anniversary.
Written
The
by
great day
Pushkin.
of Borodino. Remembering the brotherhood, we said a lot of troops went threatening Russia with death. The whole Europe was there, and whose star was leading it on? But we stood firmly on the ground, took the bullets to the chest, and the unjust argument was then fair. And then their shameful fleeing, they forgot. They forgot our arms, our snow that buried their fame in the middle of a desert. Their famous feast is so attractive, and they get drunk on the Slavic blood. But their hangover will be hard, and they will sleep for long on the northern fields. You see, this says it all.
And the people are clapping, okay? That is Pushkin he's quoting there. That poem is about Napoleon coming to Russia and Napoleon getting defeated and the dead bodies laying on the Russian snow with their weapons. This is what Vladimir Putin was talking about today. You could see it in his eye at the end. He's wagging the book and he says, "This says it all." If anyone out there is wondering if Russia wants peace, if Russia does not want war, then something of that nature, that quote, his action, may I read to you from Pushkin? So look at it a little different way. What this means is it was already prepped for him at some point. He probably, that question was staged, most likely, or he was prepared if a question went a certain way to pull out the Pushkin poem. So he has that book there already turned to the page. So at some time today, Vladimir Putin wanted to say that the enemies, those of the West, love to drink the Slavic blood, but they will end up laying dead in our fields under the snow. He says, "This says it all." And that is today, ladies and gentlemen, not 1812 when Pushkin wrote that poem. I believe it was 1812. It is 2025, over 213 years later. And we have, in a modern world, the president of Russia talking about the West wanting to drink Slavic blood. And we think that we can have interaction with this regime. No, it's not possible. Yeah, I thought they were going to the Bible there for a moment. Darren Corrigan, what's up, cuz? Yeah, forget it. No, he had to pull out Pushkin. Pushkin, that's his Bible. All right, let's go to the next one. Power hungry fail, number 5. The USA has peaked. Okay, now listen closely here. Here you go. Power hungry fails. The USA has peaked. No dictators.
The Western countries succumbed to see and have this absolute and will this absolute power. This was a serious, strong temptation, and not to succumb, one had to have some historical vision and good intellectual level of education and groundwork, and those who made the decisions did not have this high capacity. The power of the United States and their allies peaked at the end of the 20th century, but
okay, I want to start that over again on purpose. You've heard that much. He is dressing down the intellectual inability of the West, of the United States, and then he talks about the power peaking at the end of the 20th century. Here, now, you're prepared for it. Listen again.
The Western countries succumbed to see and have this absolute and will this absolute power. This was a serious, strong temptation, and not to succumb, one had to have some historical vision and good intellectual level of education and groundwork, and those who made the decisions did not have this high capacity. The power of the United States and their allies peaked at the end of the 20th century, but there can be no single force that can run the world on its own, prescribing what should be done to everybody, how everyone should breathe. There were some attempts of that, but they all failed.
Now, that was very calculated what he did. He's doing a double statement. He says, back in the day, at the peak of the U.S., they're idiots. The West, no education. And the world is not run by some person just spewing out commands, telling us when we can breathe. Do you think he's referring to the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s? No. That is a double take where he can say, no, I'm speaking about that time. No, he's not. He's speaking a direct message to Donald J. Trump and to the leaders of Europe, period. Papa Dutch, $5 super chat. And then there is Ukraine itself. What the heck? You called it, Papa Dutch, with the U's. I wasn't going to go there, but Ukraine starts with the U. Linda S., thank you for gifting 10 memberships. Andrew Scully, $7.99 Australian. Help the Warriors. Thank you, Andrew Scully. Joey T., five quid. Greg, can I ask, if Trump ordered his generals to commit war crimes, do you think they would do it? No, I do not. No, I do not. Why would I answer no, I do not? Let me just speak to that for 1 minute. My grandfather, who has passed away, was a decorated World War II, Korean War hero, U.S. Navy. He also was on the destroyer in the Cuban Bay Missile Crisis. That's the gap of his life. He was a legend, and he has a wall of fame. And as a little boy and a young man, I would go over and my grandfather would point at the wall and he would tell me all about the wars and what he did and the history of it and how great the United States was and the army and, you know, helping to fight against Nazi Germany and Japan. I learned so much from his experiences. The lecture, the shenanigans, the way that Pete Hegseth spoke to generals a day or so ago, a couple of days ago. My grandfather's passed away, but I'm telling you, he would have walked up on the platform, grabbed him by the neck, and threw him out of the building. That's what my grandfather would have done. But there is a restraint, and in our military, there are good people. And it's a very difficult time in the United States right now. So I don't believe, that's my opinion, that our generals would do something like that. The Weasel, 5 quid. Thank you for that. The Weasel. Papa Dutch, I missed 25 minutes because my screen failed to show the stream. I reloaded and there was Greg already started. Next time, Papa Dutch, I will send a homing pigeon with a message to you to let you know it started. Linda S., shout out time, Australian 20. Thank you, mods, for all your work you do on the channel to keep it respectful and united. We love you all. Yes, we do. We have the best community, the best mods, the best team. This is for all of you.
Slava Ukraini!
There you go, though. Thank you, everybody. Joey T, 5 quid. Jonathan of ATP asked today, let me do this. If, is the USA a fascist state? No, the United States is not a fascist state, and I'll have a talk with Johnny on that. We have issues, significant, and we're at a crossroads in our country, but we're not a fascist state. Joey T, Greg, my dad was a World War II vet. I caught that one. Myself, a Falklands. Thank you for your service. But I was so upset with Hegsgate and Trump. Yeah, me too. I don't know how you can dress down generals and talk to them about security and talk to them about respect when you can't even take care of a text message as a Secretary of Defense. $10 super chat from Blonde Bombshell. A huge shout out to the amazing chat here today. Love and prayers to all soldiers and veterans. Yes, to all of you. Thank you for all that you do. And this is why I wanted to go live with this, so you could be chatting about it and we could interact. Now, let's get back to it. We've covered power hungry fail. U.S. has peaked. Now, we know that the U.S. is proudly talking about we're now the Department of War. And that was Hegseth on the stage strutting around like a peacock. We're the Department of War. We're the Department of War. We're not going to have any fat generals. Well, sir, if you're not going to have any fat generals, then you need to talk to the commander-in-chief, and he needs to lay off the donuts and the tacos. That's all I'm going to say there.
Slava Ukraini!
sorry, but I couldn't help that one because that really, I don't want to go, I want to stay right on Putin because if not, we'll be streaming for 2 hours. That was just such a horrible display of personality, in my opinion, from the Secretary of Defense. I put that right behind at the same, you're standing in front of the Pentagon flying 4 DJI Mavic drones and thinking you're the world leader in drone technology, and honest to goodness, Ukraine and or Russia would wipe everybody off the planet with drone technology. I've got news for you. So anyway, let's keep going here. I want to stay right on task. Now, Department of War. Oh yeah. Putin speaks about the Department of War. Here we go.
Interlocutors and your interlocutor across the ocean have renamed the Defense Department into the Department of War. Probably the same thing, but there are nuances. Do you think the names matter?
Well, I don't think, probably not, or probably as you name the ship, so it sails. So probably there is some point to it. But you know, this sounds quite, well, a bit aggressive. The Department of War, ours is the Ministry of Defense, so this has been our tenet. We don't have any aggressive intentions against third countries.
We do not have any aggressive. I'm going to play this video clip again because I know right now you're picking your teeth up off the floor and you spilled your popcorn just now. We don't have any aggressive intentions against third countries. What is this? Last time I checked, this is what you call a third country or another country. Looks to me like we've got drones everywhere all over Ukraine tonight. I know earlier they were striking heavily right here at Poltava region. And ladies and gentlemen, I need to do a Frontline update, but Vladimir Putin's going to give you a Frontline update in just a minute. Yeah, he is. But I can tell you, Russia making some serious hits on Ukrainian infrastructure and rail infrastructure over the last few days. Ukraine doing the same. The war has escalated big time. Now, just listen to this again. I played it 3 times when I prepped it.
Interlocutors and your interlocutor across the ocean have renamed the Defense Department into the Department of War. Probably the same thing, but there are nuances. Do you think the names matter?
Well, I don't think, probably not, or probably as you name the ship, so it sails. So probably there is some point to it. But you know, this sounds quite, well, a bit aggressive. The Department of War, ours is the Ministry of Defense, so this has been our tenet. We don't have any aggressive intentions against third countries.
We don't have any aggressive intentions against third countries. And it is, I saw the question. So what's the second country? Yeah, I think that's just colloquialism there because it's translated properly. You heard it for yourself. I wonder if anybody in Washington, D.C. is having all of this translated or watching the translations that are provided. I hope they're watching my channel. Send it to the White House. Really? And you haven't heard anything yet. So, ladies and gentlemen, did you know that Russia wanted to join NATO and actually tried twice? Yeah, they tried twice. Here you go. This is Vladimir Putin talking about the history of Russia and NATO.
35 years ago, when it seemed that the confrontation was coming to a close and the Cold War was coming to a close, we hoped that for an advent of the epoch of true cooperation, it seemed that no ideological and other obstacles were there that would preclude to resolve jointly uniform problems and common problems for the humankind, sorting out and resolving conflicts and disputes, building upon the mutual respect and taking into account everybody's interest. Let me digress and give a historical excursus here. Our country, wishing to eliminate the grounds for bloc-based confrontation, create the common space of security, stated 2 times that we were ready to join NATO. For the first time, it was back in 1954, in the Soviet times, and for the second time, during a visit by President Clinton, US President Clinton, in Moscow in the year 2000, when we spoke about that with him, and both times we were turned down, straight away. I repeat, we were ready for joint work and non-linear steps in the global security and stability sphere, but our Western counterparts were not ready to rid themselves of the captivity of geopolitical and historical stereotypes and this simplistic world view. And I stated about that on many occasions in public. When we spoke with President Clinton, he said, it's very interesting, I think it's possible, but several hours later in the evening he said, I sought the advice of my team, it's unfeasible. And when will it be feasible? It boiled down to nothing. So a real opportunity to shift to the positive vector is something that we had, but alas, some different approach prevailed. The Western countries succumbed to see and have this absolute and wield this absolute power.
Now, let's talk facts. What he just stated is true. In 1954, Russia did make attempts, the Soviet Union, to come together with NATO. And then there was also, during the Clinton administration, the same thing happened. And it was turned down by Bill Clinton. Now, what I find interesting, though, is the one that you wanted to join, and specifically in the second one there with Bill Clinton, of course, it was being initiated and partnered by Vladimir Putin himself. That tells you how long he's been around. From that moment to now, instead of wanting to join NATO, break down the blocks that divide us, now everything is blamed on NATO coming closer to us. So if you look at it through that lens, what did the Soviet Union really want to do in 1954? What did Putin and Russia want to do during the Clinton administration? I do not know the answer to that, but the same, you're just a couple of decades later, and the one you were trying to join, partner, bring peace is now the reason that you're having war. You see what I'm saying there? This is just very, very, it's deep, actually, when you begin to think about it in layers. And I will tell you, if you didn't see my video from earlier today, Peskov said that the conversation tonight from Putin would be deep. I think this may be one of the things he was referring to. All right, now let's do this, guys. That's on NATO. Now, I've waited. I put this one in the middle. This is number 8. On purpose, because I wanted to make sure we had as many people in here as possible. We've got 2,162 watching right now, 677 likes. If you don't mind, hit that like button. It goes a long way in helping us get the message out more and more. But got a good crew in here now, and I want you to hear with your own ears Vladimir Putin today declare what the root causes are of the war in Ukraine, what the root causes are of the Ukrainian crisis or conflict. Here it is. I won't even preface it. Just listen for yourself. Here we go. For Ukrainians and for Russians, for all of us, the reason for the Ukrainian conflict is well known to anyone who has taken the trouble to look into history, its current most acute stage. I will not repeat it. I am sure those present in this hall know it well and know my position.
Therefore, there is no question. I have formulated it many times. It is also well known who, for decades, encouraged and instigated and armed Ukraine and turned it against Russia, nurtured rabid nationalism and neo-Nazism there. And frankly speaking, pardon the expression, they did not care at all, not only about Russia's interest, but even about Ukraine's interest and the true interest of that country's people. They do not pity these people. For them, these people are expendable material for the globalists, the expansionists in the West, and their servants in Kyiv. The results of reckless amateurism are obvious. There's nothing more to say.
And that was it, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't go any further. He literally turned the page and there was nothing else said about it. Now, he just blamed the root causes on the West, expansionism, the spread of militarism, neo-Nazism, the Kyiv regime that is upheld by its Western handlers. Okay, question for you. I thought this was about liberating the Russian people who voted by a referendum that Lugansk and Donetsk should be joined back to Russia. I thought that this was about the persecution of Russian-speaking people in eastern Ukraine. I thought this was about the persecution of the Christian faith, specifically the Russian Orthodox Church. I thought this was about not respecting Russia's history in the Donbass and the Novorossiya rayones, Novorossiya, New Russia regions. That's what I thought it was about. No, of course not. It's about the hatred of the West. What they see, they being the Kremlin, as the expansion of the West, NATO coming to our borders. We didn't go to NATO's borders. NATO's coming to us, and they're using the Ukrainian people. And you know what's so interesting? They don't even care about the Ukrainian people. They're just using them. Really? This is what's called not caring about Ukrainian people right here, while we have Kherson, Mykolaiv, Kirovograd, Vinnytsia, a portion of Khmelnytsky, Zhytomyr, Kyiv City, Chernigiv, Sumy, Poltava, Dnepropetrovsk, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Kharkiv, and Lugansk regions under air alarm as dozens and dozens of drones are flying and will strike civilian targets anytime tonight. And you're going to talk about, it's not, the drones aren't coming from this way, dear sir, and I want to stick to task. The drones aren't coming from this way. They're coming from Russia. They're coming through Belarus. But it's the West who doesn't care at all about these people. Well, I will say this. You guys know as well as I know that all of that is a bunch of baloney. The world cares about Ukrainian people. It is obvious in the love and support that is shown for them. I can only speak of the nations I travel through and all the work I do in Ukraine. I can talk about the support I've seen in the Netherlands. I can talk about the support I've seen in France, in Poland, in Germany. All during this war, I've been in those nations. Then, of course, 16 months in Ukraine during this war, but I'm an American as well. And I say as well because I'm a passport holder in Ukraine and the U.S. So I can tell you in the United States, I've not seen one Russian flag flying. But I've seen thousands of Ukrainian flags flying, thousands of bumper stickers, the tractor trailers going down the freeways in the United States with a bumper sticker that says, "We stand with Ukraine." Honk if you stand for Ukraine. You name it. And if you're from the U.S., I know you have seen these things on the highway and the byways and the towns and the cities near you. It's a fact. So we can absolutely confirm that it's nothing but Putin spewing venom and lies, period. The question is, forget what Europe's going to do, and that's not being disrespectful. We already know where Europe stands. And we have seen the shift with words from the Trump administration, but now we need to see the action that goes with those words. Late tonight, coming in right before I went live, Zelensky saying most likely we're not getting Tomahawks, but not confirmed. Regardless, put your money where your mouth is. Going to be interesting to see how the United States Trump administration responds to some of these things, because they're quite pointed statements, to be quite honest. I'm trying to give it a little bit of entertainment spin as we look through them, but they're pointed. Now, let's get to number 9, paper tigers and the front lines. Paper tigers and the front lines. This is a longer clip. Vladimir Putin is going to talk about paper tiger. Of course, this refers back to the statement that Donald Trump made. And then he's going to tell you his full frontline analysis, coming to you tonight from Vova. Here we go.
And he says that Russia is a paper tiger.
A paper tiger. Well, I've said that Russia has been waging a war not against Ukraine, but all NATO countries put together. So if we speak... Well, you've asked me what has been happening on the front line, battlefield line. I'll come back to the tiger thing, but, all along the battlefield line, our troops have been advancing. The northern group in the Kharkov region, there's a location of Volchansk, and in the Sumy region, there's also a location called Yunakovka. It has been transferred to our control, and we have taken half of Volchansk. I think it is a matter of time. The other half will be retaken soon, and a security buffer zone is being established in a firm and resolute manner, as planned. The western group of our troops has virtually fully... Well, 2/3 of Kupiansk have been taken, which is a location where we have seized the center, and the hostilities have moved to the south. Another major location called Kirovsk has been transferred to our control, and the southern group of our troops has entered the city of Konstantinovka. This is one of the defense bastions like Konstantinovka, Sloviansk, and Kramatorsk, which are the fortifications that had been created for more than 10 years with the help of the Western professionals and military professionals. But we have approached and entered those, including also Seversk, a major location too. And the hostilities are ongoing there. The central group of our army has been quite active and efficient in operations, and they have entered the location of Krasnoarmeysk, the south of it. I will not delve into detail, also because I just don't want to inform our foe, strange as it might seem, because this might seem strange, my words, but actually they don't know what has been happening. They have very little coordination, so I would not wish to supply information to them, but, our soldiers work there, okay. With respect to the eastern group, it has been advancing rapidly at a good pace in the north of Zaporozhye region and Dnipro region, and the Dnieper region, regional group also is quite effective and confident. So 0.13% of Lugansk region is what is still controlled by the adversary, so we will retake that, and 19-something% is still controlled by of Donetsk region is still controlled by the adversary. 24 to 25% is the remaining territory under the control of the Zaporozhye and Kherson regions, and I'm in control of the Ukrainians, and we hold the strategic initiative in a confident way in all these locations, but actually we've been advancing steadily and resolutely. Are we a paper tiger? Then what is NATO in this case? What is NATO like if we're a paper tiger? Okay. The main thing for us is to maintain our confidence, and we are confident.
Look at the guy with the white hair. Oh, I love it. Okay. Listen. I need to go to the map. We've got 4 more videos, and he's getting ready to talk about the Ukrainian army. He's also going to talk about Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. I saw that in the chat. I need to go to the map now to show you what he's talking about. And we really needed to listen to that statement. I'll explain it to you. Okay. He's projecting, folks, in case you were wondering. He's projecting strength. All of that was planned, and that's how it was planned for him to respond to the paper tiger statement of Trump. Okay. It was planned. Everything's planned for him to go and wax eloquent about the front lines and no regard for reality or truth. Some of it was fairly accurate. Some of it was not accurate at all. But he also gave information out about true desires of what Russia is looking at. And then he smirks. Does that sound like a paper tiger? That's what he was doing, guys, 100%. Now, I want to catch up with these really quick, and then we're going to go to the map. I need to say, let's see here. Papa Dutch, $10 super chat. Time for the propaganda mirror. Whenever a Russian says anything, reverse it and then read it off. We do not. We do. And I was saving your comment, Papa Dutch, for this particular moment because it's perfectly applicable to what we just talked about. DK, we will stand firm with Ukraine. Yes, we will. Thank you so much. Witkoff is doing the translations from Jazz FT. That's probably accurate. Papa Dutch, $10 super chat. By this means Russia telegraphs everything they are doing and what they are going to do. Your comments are actually helping me co-host tonight, by the way, Papa Dutch. Exactly perfect timing for what Putin just said. Andrew Scully, Australian, $14.99. It's always the poor people that fight for their country while the rich are at home having a chop at your girlfriend. I assume that's eating a steak and giving her a kiss on the cheek. I agree with this, Papa Dutch. $5 super chat. Hexeth's eyes bother me. They look like they doubt but are expecting approval. So nothing matters, just like a spoiled little kid. That's all he is a spoiled little kid. And Linda S. down Australia. For your next trip, please, something nice for the troops. Let them know we care, love, respect, and stand with them to victory. Linda S., the legend from Australia. By the way, guys, it's been so much work keeping up. You still, on the next live, are going to be seeing the drop to Kirill, Pavel Ivanovich. There's so much video you haven't seen. It's just so much to do and to keep up with as the channel has grown, but it's coming. So just thank you. And Linda, we will. And I know there's some others I've got to get to, but I want to go and show you guys this right now. So let me do it this way. Because if you're here and you're new and you do not know, I've worked in Ukraine for 28 years. I have an apartment there. Have a whole team there with Zhenya. We aid, help nonstop. And I know this is my second home. Know it like the back of my hand. So he was talking about the Russians' presence in Sumy. Okay, and Vovchansk he's talking about is right here. We've been into Vovchansk, know it well. It's completely leveled to the ground. This city is leveled to the ground, and Ukraine's still holding a portion of it. Then he talks about Kupiansk here. Then he talks about Konstantinivka. Then he talks about the southern towns below Zaporizhia here. And then he talks about the Kherson Oblast, the Zaporizhia Oblast, Donetsk Oblast, and the little piece of Lugansk Oblast. And I know that's a lot of red for you there, but he talked that Russia is in the center of Kupiansk and holds the aggression there. This was the most accurate one he said. This is Kupiansk. And if I outline the city, this is the outline of the city of Kupiansk right there. So this is Institute for the Study of War. The Russians are in the center of Kupiansk, and they have leaning pressure. This is what the gold means. Leaning pressure, pressuring into the southern and the central southern part of Kupiansk. That was the most accurate statement he made. He then talked about Konstantinivka. I want to come down here for Konstantinivka on you. Let me zoom out once. The Russians have leaning presence, and this is DRG activity right into the border here of Konstantinivka. It is true, but they're not in Konstantinivka. Ukrainians are still holding all of this, but DRG is there working, and Konstantinivka is being hit hard every day. It's going to look like Bakhmut. I hate to say it, but that's what it's going to look like. It's going to look like Vovchansk. It's going to be leveled to the ground, and that's what is happening. But this is Chasiv Yar, and this is Bakhmut back here, just so you guys know. And, you know, we've been in all these places, Chasiv Yar, Bakhmut, and of course, Konstantinivka. That's one of our places. He then talked about the town of Siversk. You may not know Siversk so well, but this is Konstantinivka, Druchivka, Kramatorsk, and Slavyansk. Siversk is right here in this pocket. And he says, you know, we've got Siversk. Well, the reality is they have leaning pressure on Siversk, but they're not in Siversk. But it is very difficult there. The last thing I want to share with you guys on the map, and then we'll get to the other video clips, is he stated specifically, let me change this to a different color here and make it a little bigger. He said, we hold everything but 0.13% of Lugansk. It's fairly accurate, and it's right here. Right there is a little piece of Lugansk that they don't have. All right, I'm going to take that off. Then he says, I meant to keep that black here. Then he says, we have, 19% more of Donetsk. So this is right here, which tells you militarily they want to take or have Ukraine capitulate and take it. Now, he then made a statement that we haven't heard come out of his mouth, and that is we need 25% more of the Zaporizhia Oblast and the Kherson Oblast to have it completed. So if this is the intention, which it is, that means the city of Zaporizhia, the city of Kherson, major cities, especially Zaporizhia, a mega city, million people. And then, of course, this is the gateway then to Dnipro, the gateway to Kryvyi Rih, Zelensky's hometown. So today, if you listen closely, Putin was saying, We're clicking along good. Oh, yeah. Of course, it's what he's going to say. He's projecting. But that was how he answered the paper tiger statement. So let's go to the next one. He then talks about the Ukrainian army. Vladimir Putin talking about the Ukrainian army. You got to listen to this one. This is projection again. Here we go.
They need, but in September they have lost 44,700, and around half of that is irretrievable, and the forced mobilization brought in only 18.5 thousand new recruits, and 14.5 thousand have returned after treatment in hospitals. If you add the mobilized ones and the returnees and all those who they lost, it's minus 11,000 per month. So they cannot replenish their reserves on the front line, but they see their army dwindling. If we take January to August, this span, 155,000 people have deserted, and they...
Okay, I'm going to pause right there. Are y'all listening to this? His math, and he's not reading that. These are in his head. He may have a little crib sheet note down there, but that means that this is all staged. Of course, it is. But he's now talking about 150,000 people have deserted. Okay, let me tell you, as a person who works in Ukraine, have there been desertions? Absolutely 100% yes. Has Ukraine had failures in mobilization? Absolutely 100% yes. Are they trying to fix it? Yes. Is it 150,000 people that have deserted? Not even close. It is a fictitious number. We'll continue now.
Have recruited 160,000 more, but 150,000 of defectors is a lot. And, given the current casualties, that means that they have only one alternative, reducing the mobilization age, threshold age, but this will not yield good results. According to our and by Western specialists, this will hardly give or yield positive results because they don't have time to train their newly recruited soldiers, because our troops keep advancing day after day. So they cannot entrench themselves or train the military personnel, and their casualties exceed the inflow. So they'd better, the Kiev leadership would better think of how to come to terms, and we proposed that on many occasions.
Do we have enough personnel for everything?
We have a lot of these.
Listen.
We also have casualties, but they are much lower than the ones of the Ukrainian forces.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you know as well as I know, if you follow Ukraine at all and your head has not been under a rock in Antarctica, the Russians have more casualties than the Ukrainians. Do I know the exact numbers? No. But do we know in general that the Russians have lost a significant, larger group of soldiers, whether killed or wounded? Absolutely, without question.
And our recruits are volunteers. They volunteer.
That is a statement about the mobilization in Ukraine now that is problematic with the TCC, the mobilization units out, especially in places like Odessa and some in the West, even in Kyiv, physically pushing some people in vans. It's happened. I was asked earlier, Greg, what are you, like anti-American? No, I'm bleed red, white, and blue. Well, say something tough on Ukraine. Listen, I do. In fact, I'm getting ready to tell you something else in just a minute. But he's speaking to all of that, guys. Don't miss it.
They come to the draft stations on their own.
The Russians.
We don't have any forced mobilization, any compulsory mobilization, unlike the Kiev regime. This is not what I have invented. This is objective, real data, and the Westerners also proved.
Oh, the Westerners have also proved. Yeah, delusional. Now, I want to answer this comment here. Empress Jinx, thank you for the comment. Dude, millions left the country. I would consider them deserters. I agree with you. And so do so many Ukrainian soldiers and volunteers. Not 100%. There are women and children that left early in the war and the refugees, and it was so complicated at the beginning. But let me tell you, if you think for a moment that Ukrainians inside Ukraine that are fighting for their nation, that are donating, that are giving, that are sewing nets, that are doing anything they can do to help their nation survive and fight for freedom, is happy with Ukrainians, especially young men between the ages of 25 and 45 that ran out of their country, sorry, you're mistaken. I have been on the train platform in Warsaw screaming at Ukrainians myself. I've witnessed 30-year-old cowards put their wife and children on the train to go back to Ukraine. I'm on the train and they walk off into the darkness. I said, "You coward draft dodger." And I scream at them. Sorry, you're getting a little insight. So your comment is valid, but do not think for a moment that Ukrainians aren't thinking about those. But it's not 100%. It's not just a blanket statement. But we can't count those in the numbers. So I hope that helps. Whoever made that comment earlier that Greg never talks bad about Ukraine, yes, I do. We tell you the truth. Doesn't mean we don't stand with Ukraine. 100%. We need to fix it. Yeah. Rust 409. Lots left Russia too. 100% agree. 100% agree. It's very, very difficult. It's horrible war, guys. It's an absolutely horrible war. In fact, I'm going to show you one thing. I was going to do a video on this, but I'll tell you right now, you're in the live. Okay. Let's do this. Let's go to this, and I'm going to do a red line here. I'm going to show you guys something. This, and of course, I'm making the red line very big, all right? This is what, right where the red meets the gray here, and this is deep state. Okay, that is what we would call the zero line, okay? Today, Ukrainian military analysts I follow, support, share their stuff, everything massively. They were writing about this situation right here. There is no zero line. Yes, there's a trench. Yes, there's soldiers on positions from both sides. But now, and this is just a guesstimate. Okay, I'm just drawing lines. This is now called the kill zone. 50 kilometers on either side of the zero is the kill zone. You can be killed at any moment within 50 kilometers of the zero by FPV drones. This is not warfare that we've ever seen anywhere. And yes, there are millions of people within 50 kilometers, not just soldiers, but civilians. So it's a completely different war. Now, somebody asked earlier about Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Putin making a very direct statement and a complete lie. But here we go.
We try to provide for the security of the nuclear power plant and the fuel, but I can only add that the sabotage squads of the Ukrainian army last month and last year repeatedly tried to blow up the power transmission lines near the Kursk and Smolensk nuclear power plants, trying to, our professionals restored power supply quickly, but what has been happening now at the Zaporozhye power plant is no different from the activities by those terrorist squads. This is very dangerous. Well, they'd better stop that. I hope this message is brought home to those who are in charge. So Grossi knows what has been happening. Yes, he does, and he knows that. Like a UAV drops a shell, or a shell comes. So do we strike ourselves from the Ukrainian territory? This is ridiculous.
Okay, so you hear what he is saying about the nuclear power plants. He even goes on to say, do not risk anymore what you're doing because you are the ones that are having the provocation or the initiative trying to disrupt nuclear power and blame it on us. Now, let me tell you why he's lying. Okay? I'm going to tell you why he's lying. If I show you this map right here, right here is the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Okay? And what he's specifically talking about is the Ukrainians are flying drones and dropping munitions on the power lines to destroy them and then blame it on us. Do you think we would drop munitions on ourselves to do this? Here's the deal. We all know that the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is in critical situation due to the lack of energy, the power lines that are coming in to provide nonstop power so that there is not a meltdown, so that the cooling can be properly maintained. It then has diesel generator backups. Those engines are not running the way they should be going. Zelensky reported on this. I did a video on it. You can go see that. What people do not understand when they just look at that and listen to Putin or Zelensky talk, I don't understand. What do you mean power's coming to this plant and there's no power now? So as of today, the power for Zaporizhia nuclear power plant comes from the Ukrainian power grid. Even now, even though it's occupied by Russia, the power for that station comes from the Ukrainian power grid. So when Ukraine says it's offline, there's no power, the power lines are down, we can't repair the power lines because we're being shelled or droned nonstop by Russia. It's in this location right here. The power's cut. The power for Zaporizhia nuclear power plant does not come this way. Let me make that bigger for you. This way. It doesn't come from occupied Ukraine, Russian occupied, or from Russia. It comes from Ukraine. So the argument that Putin lays out is illogical. And that is why Zelensky's telling us the truth. And it is critical, not only there, but it's also critical right now in Chernobyl. And of course, we all remember Chernobyl. Chernobyl is right here, right in northern Ukraine. And it's on the border, near the border with Belarus. We all remember that if you're old enough from 1986. You say, well, I thought that's offline, and why is there problems for that? Because the sarcophagus is over it, but the meltdown is still there. That's what they did to solve it. And the cooling has to continue, and they're having issues there as well. So it's significant, but Putin talking about it today. Now, the last two things, and we'll sign off here in a second. Putin's talking about the drones in Denmark. Okay. And he tries to be humorous with this. Here you go. You guys know what we're talking about. All the drones that are flying. All right, here we go. Vladimir Vladimirovich, why are you sending so many drones to Denmark? Okay, I won't anymore. No need anymore. I won't. I just won't anymore. Not to France, not to Denmark, not to Copenhagen. Where else do they fly on those things? They fly everywhere. Yes, yes, to Lisbon. They fly. You know, there are people there amusing themselves. The same people who once amused themselves with unidentified flying objects, you know, UFOs. Well, there are just as many oddballs there as here with us, by the way. No difference, especially young people. They'll now be launching something at you every day. Every day, God willing. Well, let them go chase them. As you understand, seriously speaking, we don't even have drones that can reach Lisbon. There are some longer range ones, but there are no targets there, and that is the main thing. That's what it's about. But this is also one of the ways to stir up the situation overall, to follow the instructions of the Washington Regional Committee and raise defense spending. Washington hysteria. He's trying to make jokes about the drones. That's on the heels of Zelensky a couple days ago talking about the Shadow Fleet is releasing the drones. He then says, oh, there's oddballs everywhere, crazy people everywhere. They're over there in Europe. They're in America. We have them here in Russia. There's crazy people chasing UFOs. Let them chase them. We do not even have drones that can go that far. So let me tell you right now, 100%, that a Shahed drone with modified fuel tanks, they add in, I have held them in my hands. The Shahed, well, I don't hold the Shahed in my hand. It's much larger than I am. I have pictures of me standing on Shaheds, with Shaheds. I'm not allowed to share them, just in case. And I know there are people out there that do, but I'm not allowed to. I try to do everything in protocol with Zhenya and our team. We work direct with military. They said, no, don't show those pictures. There may be something in the background or something, so don't show them. But I've been on them, stood beside them, held them. The fuel tanks that Russia now adds, in addition to the standard, they're the plastic bags. They put them in the Shahed. It's for extended range. So a Shahed has a combat range of 1,700 kilometers. That's a 129. But the new versions, the Geran 3, has a range of 2,500 kilometers. 2,500 kilometers with a load. That is a fact. In fact, let's do something for fun. And then I want to get to the last video about the Tomahawks. And then I'm going to go see my wife, because today is my wedding anniversary and I'm spending it with you. It's 32 years today, October the 2nd, 32 years. I know I do not look that old. Thank you. All right, let's do this just for grins here. I'll show you this. And let's just put a Shahed launcher right here. And let's put the distance to Berlin. 1,256 kilometers across Belarus and Poland. All right. Let's do one more. We'll go to Paris. And our launchers here, absolutely. Launchers are up here. Let's go all the way to Paris. 2,100 kilometers. So almost Paris, guys. So I don't know what he's talking about. See, but he's talking about Lisbon. This is such a show. But he said a lot. Listen, Lisbon, of course, the furthest point away here. Of course, that's why he's calling out Lisbon. No, they can't reach Lisbon, but they can reach all of Europe easily. easily. So let's go to the last one. Tomahawks. Vladimir Putin is going to talk about tomahawks. They're kind of outdated. It's a powerful weapon. It is, however, already somewhat outdated, but powerful and posing a threat. And of course, this will not change the balance of power. I have already said the fundamental problems of the Ukrainian armed forces, no matter how many drones they have, no matter how many seemingly insurmountable defensive lines are created with the help of drones, still, if there is no personnel, there's no one to fight. There you have it. This is Vladimir Putin today, guys. I took 4 hours of information. Hey, Georgie, what's going on, bro? God bless you. And where's Georgie at here? Thank you, my friend. Georgie, we need to hook up, bro. God bless you, Greg. Great analysis and happy anniversary. Thank you so much, my dear friend. Now, let's do this as we close out. And big shout out to Ukraine Matters. If you don't know about Georgie and Ukraine Matters, just Ukraine Matters. Type it into YouTube. A couple of last things that I want to accomplish here. I want to say thank you all for being here. Little Whiskey Shop. I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't have my comments pushing in the right way, so I can't show all the comments. But Little Whiskey Shop, 10 quid. As ex-vet, Hesketh speech made me sick. Some of the best officers I served with were female, but would fail male physical tests. Better officers than Hesketh would ever be. Sexist. Man, why are you using these hard words for me? Misogynistic and naive. 100% agree. Little Whiskey Shop, my friend from there. I met you in Kyiv. That is a big time Johnny Pierce, ATP geopolitics supporter. YOLO, 5 quid. Thank you for that super sticker there. Kevin Delaney, Canadian 13.99. Will Trump back EU NATO if Putin planes shot down? Will Trump back EU NATO if Putin planes shot down? EU UK fearful Trump will impose tariffs if their acts displease. US still too occupied with critical internal matters. Russians done with Putin. Okay, so let me answer all of those. No, the Russians are not done with Putin. Something crazy would have to happen. And there are just as bad guys waiting in the wings. Is the US too occupied with critical internal matters? They are critical internal matters, and the U.S. is very occupied, especially now in lieu of the government shutdown and all of the things that are happening in that regard. Will Trump impose tariffs if their acts displease? Trump will impose tariffs on his own mother. So listen, Trump is touting today how $1 trillion is in the coffers from tariffs. That's all you need to know. Oh, and by the way, I didn't translate this one. I should have. I'm sorry. Vladimir Putin was talking about how great a friend and ally North Korea is, and they are such a peaceful nation. Go look it up. I'll grab it later and maybe put it in a video tomorrow. Will Trump back EU NATO if Putin shoots a plane down? I would hope yes. But according to his answer from the White House the other day, it would depend on the situation. We'll see. Papa Dutch postulate, in addition to false information, $50 super chat from his own subjugates, Putler also has a diminishing satellite and other technological information system capabilities. Their communications and information are missing from their C3I. I need a new person in here to sometimes translate for me, Papa Dutch. In Time Independent News. Thank you for that super chat, Nick. If you guys have not subscribed to In Time Independent News, make sure you do that. Nick. Do you think Putin will ever do a 360 and change his mind? He may do a 180. You trying to get me, sir. But no, he's not going to do a 180. He'll just do 360s. His mind's going to stay the same way. Joey Teague, 5 quid. God bless Ukraine. God bless all the heroes, the people, the children. Stand with them. Pray for them. They cannot lose. 100% agree.
Slava Ukraini.
There we go. Let's go here. Little Whiskey Shop, 5 quid. Greg, followed you for 2 years and much more since meeting you in Ukraine. You criticize Ukraine more than I would like, but it is justified. Thank you for that. Listen, I love Ukraine, guys. And we've got the, let me show you all something special tonight. It sits beside me here. For those of you that hung around, I hope this camera's working here. Let's go. Yeah. That's my water bottle. Let's do this. We'll show you all something special tonight on on the day where Putin goes crazy. I think there's one more here. Yep. These always stay right beside me. And tonight, these are special patches. All these patches are off of Pete Fouché's helmet, given to me by his mother. I also have his helmet, his jacket, his stuff over there. I've never shown these. Never. But Angel of Bakhmut, right here. Angel of Bakhmut. This is the original. Oh, thank you. Move the water bottle. Cam's focused on it. Maybe I can do it this way. There. Angel of Bakhmut. Let's do it that way. You can see. This is the Angel of Bakhmut. This is... Oh, sorry. Let me do this. This is the Angel of Bakhmut. Right there. Angel of Bakhmut. This is Saint Michael. Protect us. This was the Ukrainian flag that Pete wore on his helmet. And you can just see this was his Nikroku Nazad. No stepping back. It's in Ukrainian. We're not stepping back. We're only going forward. So this is special. Just want you guys to know that, yeah, we talk hard about Ukraine sometimes, but we're telling the truth to do our best to help Ukraine be better and to help. Papa Dutch talking to Nick, End Time Independent News. Putin's like a diaper. They can't wash him, so they will toss him and slap on a replacement. That is actually accurate. And listen, guys, the replacements that could be for Putin would equally as bad or worse. It's just a fact. Papa Dutch, regarding Zaporizhia, never steal what you can't keep. And that's about the nuclear power plant. That is correct, sir. Ukraine will have that nuclear power plant back in the future. So when I'm there, I'm standing, of course, all the water's dried up now. The ecology's completely changed since the Novakakovka Dam was blown. But I stand there. It's dangerous, drones, but I stand there and look right across at Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. YOLO, that's how close it is. 5 quid with the super chat. And Joey T, Greg, true friend. He will always be in your heart. God bless all the heroes. And I think that is absolutely spot on. I caught up with that one. I can show it. Yeah, he's in all of our hearts. And I would have loved to have, here we go. Thank you, Dunk. At White Raven, Peter Fouché, founder of Project Konstantin, British South African combat medic who was killed in action in June 2024. He was a great friend of Greg's. Yes, he was, my buddy, my brother from another mother, as he would say. Well, guys, we have it. You caught up, and we appreciate each and every one of you so much. I do want to share one more thing with you. One of our moderators, Blonde Bombsheller, there is a project going on for Cars for Ukraine with Claire, Stefan, whole group, where they're raising money from, it's called a 50-state for Ukraine campaign. They're raising money. And right now, Professor Gertis and I, who always partner together in fundraisers, and it's been well over $1 million of aid and support that we've taken and helped. And we're preparing for the next one, just FYI. But right now, if you're looking and you want to be able to help something during this season, in our Discord's the link, BB can put it in the chat, but this is the New Jersey battalion, but there's one for every state, and trying to get this vehicle raised. So if you're from New Jersey or you want to help New Jersey, you can throw in and help with this campaign here, or anything Cars for Ukraine. I really appreciate their work. They're legit right here. Cars Give Freedom. 741 cars deployed, 6.67 million value. Incredible work they do. So anyway, that's the big shout out tonight for Cars for Ukraine. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all that you do. Make sure I'm caught up. We are caught up. I missed Mark. Hold on. No, I'm not. I'm not going to miss it. Where you at? Mark Bisque from Canada. Thank you for this, Greg, Mark, and Elena. Thank you, Mark and Elena. And never met you personally, but I know your mother and father-in-law for you, Mark. And this is a family that they're from Canada. They're from Ukraine originally. I visit them and have tea with them every time in their neck of the woods, which is a very dangerous neck of the woods in Ukraine. So you guys be blessed. We'll be back at you. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. Big shout out to the mods. Thank you for all that you do. We love and appreciate each and every one of you. We'll see you tomorrow at the next update. Be blessed. How do I close out? There.
Слава Україні!